Hi, it's Mrs. Frank again. We are going to be working today on doing some story problems that involve multiplication. First thing you have to remember is that multiplication is repeated addition. If you are adding the same number quite a few number of times, you can figure it out much more easily by multiplying, and that's something you should have learned in third grade when you first were learning about multiplication. So let's look at some of these word problems in the worksheet that starts with Sally goes fishing with Tim. Remember, this is one I wanted you to try on your own first. If you had any questions, you can watch this. You should really be watching this as you are checking your work. If you have any questions, you can always ask me a question in forum. So we're looking at the first problem. It says Sally goes fishing with Tim. Sally catches 6 trout and 3 catfish. Tim catches twice as many trout as Sally. How many trout did Tim catch? In this problem, they gave us some extra information about the catfish. We're not even concerned with the catfish. We're only concerned with the number of trout that Tim caught. We see that Sally caught 6, and they tell us the important clue that Tim caught twice as many. And here you have to go from the language of English to the language of math. When we talk about twice as many, that means it's 2 times as many. So we want to say 2 times as many as Sally. We know that Sally caught 6. So Sally had 6. Tim has 2 times 6, twice as many as Sally. So Tim had 12 trout that he caught. Question 2. Mike was at the beach for 5 days and found 8 seashells every day. How many seashells did Mike find during the beach trip? So on day 1, he found 8. Day 2, he found 8. Day 3, day 4, and day 5. Each of those he found 8. We can multiply for number 2. We can take those 8 seashells times the 5 days, and we would say that Mike found 40 shells. For question number 3, Fred worked 2 hours for 7 days. How many hours did he work in total? So we are assuming here that each of these 7 days he worked for 2 hours. So we could add 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Or we can add an easier way than adding. We can multiply. We can have that's 2 hours times the 7 days is 14 hours that Fred worked. For number 4, there were a total of 7 football games a month, and 4 are played at night. The season is played for 4 months. How many football games are in the seasons? We don't care if they're played at night or during the day. We just want to know how many football games do we have. And the important information here is that there's 7 games a month and there are 4 months. So we could add 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. But an easier way to do that is to say we have 7 games times 4 months is going to give us a total of 28 games. For problem number 5, Keith goes out to lunch with Joan and Sarah. Each person orders the $5 lunch special, and Keith agrees to pay the bill. How much will he have to pay? Here we have to figure out how many people were at lunch altogether. So we look back at our problem when we say we have Keith as 1, Joan is our second person, and Sarah is our third person. So Keith is buying 3 lunch specials at $5 a piece. We can find the answer to how much money Keith has to spend by taking that $5 times the 3 people is going to give us $15 that Keith pays for lunch. For problem number 6, a restaurant sold 8 pies and 4 salads every day for a week. How many pies were sold during the week? We don't care about salads, so that's extra information. We can just cross that out. But now we need to use some of our English knowledge. We need to know how many days there are in a week. If you don't know that there are 7, you could always sing the old song. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the last day, and I can say them all, days of the week that you learned when you were in preschool. But there are 7 days in the week. So we're going to look at 8 pies for each day. 8 pies times 7 days is going to give us 56 pies. If I asked you how many salads, you would have said 4 times 7 and gotten 28. For problem number 7, Mike has 5 nickels in his bank. How much money does Mike have in nickels? Here we need to use our knowledge of what a nickel is worth. A nickel is worth 5 cents. So he has 5 times 5 cents is going to give our friend Mike 25 cents in his piggy bank. For number 8, we have Dan, Nancy, and Jason. They each, here's a big word, they each have 9 markers. Dan has 2 crayons. How many markers do they have in all? Notice that they made a mistake here when they wrote it and they put the have twice. I don't know if you caught that. Did they ask anything about the crayons that Dan had? No, they did not. We know that Dan has 9 markers, Nancy has 9 markers, and Jason has 9 markers. There are 3 people, and they each have 9. So our math problem here would be 3 times 9, which gives us 27 markers. For question 9, Keith has 9 $5 bills. How much money does he have? Here, that's pretty self-explanatory. He has nine bills in his pocket. They're each a $5 bill. So our friend Keith has 9 times $5 is going to give him $45. And last but not least, problem 10. Mike has 8 black balloons. Tim has 3 times more black balloons than Mike. How many black balloons does Tim have now? So Mike has 8. Tim has 3 times more. When you see 3 times more in a word problem, you know you are multiplying. So Mike had 8. Tim has 3 times 8, or 24 black balloons. If you had problems with any of these, please make sure you go to the forum, post me a question, and I will make sure I will get back to you. Thank you.